everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of The Companion to the Companion. Phish, that is, the Phish Companion. We're going to be talking about 5893. Great show. Let's get into it. Sam, my cohort, my friend.
I'm ready to get into it. Hello. The podcast where two middle-aged men attempt to just dodge a global pandemic through their computers. This is nice. I'm ready.
I like the way we're kind of framing this as a dad podcast. I might have some dad anecdotes for you later. We'll see how it goes.
Maybe we offshoot just, Phish Dads, phishdads.com, phishdads420.com.
I think there's a lot of us out there, and I think we all need a hug. We all need a pat on the back saying, you're doing an okay job. Yes. You're doing good.
We almost recorded this on 420, and I have a little happy 420 in my notes, but that one fell apart. But tonight is what's known as a supermoon. And I know it's a little earlier out there, but the supermoon was unbelievable here. So at post-podcast, go peek outside.
So a supermoon is the same as a pink moon, I'm assuming. Yes. My mom sent me pictures of the moon in Florida saying we've got a pink moon here, and I texted her back, well, you got to throw on Nick Drake's pink moon then. So
yeah, it is beautiful. It was one of those, it's massive, it's low to the ground, and just feels close to the earth and big and pink.
Well, I'll check it out. The sun's just kind of going down here in San Diego, so we're kind of just getting started. But let's talk some Phish.
Yeah, 5893, the UNH Fieldhouse. This is New Hampshire is my birth state and a place I lived a few times in my life. And now being a Mainer, I know a lot of people in this area. UNH is close to them. And although the Fieldhouse is gone, I believe this was Phish's last show, but they played their fourth and final show there. So they did play a handful of shows at the Fieldhouse. It was one of those classic multi-purpose basketball hockey arenas. And I think my lovely wife, Emily, she believes she was at this show, although she couldn't confirm it.
Okay.
But a lot of people I know who are older Phish fans, everyone was there. It was the 71st show of the longest tour they ever played.
Right.
And I believe Trey mentions that when he calls out the whole crew. And I really enjoyed it. I want to get into the shows surrounding the show and the shows to come and wonder if this deserves the top 100. But I really enjoyed it. 93 is such an enjoyable year. It's hard to find downs.
Yeah. It's hard. It is hard to nitpick. I feel like really the only thing to discuss is like the nuance of, is this other show maybe as good or a little bit better? But that's a discussion where they're close enough. So again, I think this is clear that this was a very popularly traded tape back in the day, and that's probably why it's top 100. But I, like you, went around to a lot of surrounding shows, and short of jumping into August, I don't know if there's another show that I would put above it.
Yeah, the Albany shows were awesome, but I think this show delivers every big song, really delivers solid. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the small songs are all played with, good energy. It's clean. It's tight.
Yeah.
The crowd's going nuts. There's a couple points where, we've talked about a crowd that's too rowdy, like the Santa Barbara, and a crowd that's super quiet, like the Sacramento. This crowd's right there in that sweet spot. They're pumped up. They're fired up, but then they kind of let the band, like there's moments like the Stash gets quiet. There's, it's a good show. I think top to bottom, it was a fun listen.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. There was I guess when I think about this show, obviously the Bowie kind of stands out. You're like 5893. Oh, the Bowie, right?
Yeah.
But there's also a big Stash in the first set, which definitely has some magic. And I think that's, if you get like a big jam in the first set and a big jam in the second set that are both kind of game changers, you're lucky to be at that show. I feel like there's a lot of second sets that are really strong that might have like 3 or 4 great jams, but the first set, not so much. But I can't say enough about first sets being strong enough so that when the first set finishes, you feel like you got your money's worth. and then second sets
Yeah.
are icing on the cake. And I feel like those are
Yep.
the shows that really make it to the next tier. And I think that this show has enough going on in the first set to get it there. It starts off with Chalk Dust, classic
Yeah.
opener,
Just a
rockin',
well-oiled, really
yeah,
solid.
high energy. Into Gula, I always carefully listen to the Ass Festival to see how it's rendered, and I thought this one was fantastic. I really liked it. So points. Rift
Yeah.
was good, not great for me. It was good performance, but I wasn't blown away.
Rift is such a tempo song, and I
Yeah,
feel like Trey's kind of pulling it a little. I had a couple notes at this point. I felt it's hard at the end of a 71 show tour over 3 months. Like
yeah,
I played a lot of shows, but I couldn't imagine just the wear and tear on your body, on your mind. You're close to home. You're ready to go take a break. Like the exhaustion that sets in, but also that like giddy, I'm finishing this thing, and I really
right,
want to put a stamp like that. The fumes at the end of the tank, and there were some moments at the beginning through Gula, Rift, Mound, where I felt like maybe the mix 2 pages a little low in the mix. I
hmm,
felt like Trey's energy was a little higher. He was pulling the band a little. Um, the Mound was fine following
yeah,
the Rift, but
yeah.
then Stash was where things kind of took off for me, I thought.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, and again, I did like the Mound. Like it felt like rhythmically everything was on point. It wasn't
Yeah.
even a little bit off. It was just perfect. It was good.
Yeah, they were playing. I mean,
Um,
they're at this point, they got to do these songs in their sleep.
yeah,
Like all the Rift songs, and they're knocking this out night after night after night across back and forth twice across the whole country. It's
yeah.
impressive.
I, I just to kind of talk about sound real quick. This was we had tapes and then CDs of this show, and they weren't soundboards. I don't know if they were a Matrix or I'm sure they weren't a Matrix, but whatever they were, they sounded good, but they had a lot
Yeah.
more bass. They had a lot more bass. So like a really full sound.
Yeah, I remember
Um,
listening to them with you.
yeah, and so the interesting thing is when you get used to like a show like that where it is very full and you kind of remember at these certain spots where the kick drums or the bass might hit you and you physically feel it, then when
Yeah.
you hear a soundboard like this, sometimes I think upon first listen you're like, "Oh, it's kind of thin. It doesn't have like the sort of power and the magic that I thought it did when we listened." And we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was one of the shows that when it was first released on Live Fish, I think we both listened to it and be like, I kind of remember the show being better.
Yeah.
And I think I put together that that's what it was. Because especially when I listen to the Bowie, in Bowie intros, there's usually like a couple of moments where there's like a heavy, deep bass note, a boom. And it kind of like hits you in the gut a little bit. And I kind of
Yeah.
remember that from this intro, and then it wasn't here on this recording. So that being said, I did
Yeah.
have a moment in the Bowie, so I'm not trying to say that I'm not happy about the soundboards, but I do think that you have to kind of tell your ears and your brain this is going to be a little bit of a different experience. Can't hear the cheers and whatnot.
Yeah, some of it's crowd too. When you say
Yeah.
cheers, it's that balance between you want to feel the crowd's energy, but you don't want to overdo it. And I
Right.
think later releases 96, 7 further, um, I know that Paul was always running a mic at the soundboard,
Hmm.
and I know he was blending audience recordings with soundboard recordings, where he
Right.
had a channel that was just a microphone at the soundboard.
Right.
And I think once they started, I don't know the date of that. I'd love to know the date of that because I feel like the minute they were just running an audience microphone at the soundboard and that was a line that they were running into this mix, and then they could go back and mix it later.
Hmm.
I think that really matters. I think the feel of the room
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
I think you lose a lot in an audience recording. You gain a lot in an audience recording, and the trade-off sometimes it's a win and a lose based on there could be a side wind at an
Yeah.
outdoor show, and all of a sudden the recording's trash.
Yeah. It's a. I think that what you gain is you get to hear the details that you don't normally get to hear, the little intricacies, the little flourishes, and that tends to get lost. But you're right, it's the energy that gets lost. A couple of shows that come to mind are 4-3-98 and the Carini Antelope, and the 12-31-98 Runaway Jim. When you listen to the audience versions of those songs, the crowd is a performance in and of itself. I mean, you listen to those tapes and you're just like, just listening to this crowd is like listening to an amazing jam. And those are, that gets lost when you get a soundboard. But then again, there's a lot of details that can be heard. I strongly feel like 99 is like one of those years where I just don't need to hear the audience. Just I don't need to hear any energy. I just want to hear all of the details of all these like weird little piano twinkles and ambient noises and layers of dissonance and polyrhythms that they're laying upon each other. So 99, bring me the soundboards, Kevin.
Yeah, the 98 New Year's run, I luckily got to see all 4 at MSG, and none of those are going to come up on the top 100.
No.
So this gives me a quick chance to discuss them. But I had a really fun time. And I was with different friends. I stayed at different places. I met a lot of new people. And just seeing 4 nights in a row at Madison Square Garden, a band, I had been there before to see them. And to see them playing in that big place and to feel comfortable enough at that venue. We were in different seats every night. It was really like, it's such a gorgeous place to see a show. It literally floats.
Yeah.
So it moves when the audience moves. And I remember leaving those shows thinking that, the second night was great. The second night was had some really high musical moments. And New Year's did too, the 31st. But it more was just a party for 4 straight days.
Yeah.
It was like you just woke up, you made it through the day to get to the show, you partied as hard as you could till the sun came up. You passed out, you woke up, you did it again. And it was, they were really fun. And so the crowd, I felt really in tune with the crowd.
Yeah.
And that third night, the 30th, which I thought was one of, it was an okay show. There were some moments, but the space where I was sitting there was like this row of these fancy little VIP boxes right off the floor. Yeah. And I was sitting right behind those. And with some friends that I'd made on tour the summer before, and then we met up with them at the show, and it was so cool to see them. And it was just like a gigantic party. And there were people just pounding beers in those like VIP sections that were, a little different mind space from us. But it just was, I had a really great time.
And the music was very reflective of it at that time.
It was just a big party.
Like, the music was dance party music.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the dancers on the 31st. It was just so fun.
Yeah. I recall you saying at the time that 1229 was the best of the show.
Absolutely,
the 4 musically, I recall. And I also just want to point out, I remember how cool were those tickets for that show. The mail order tickets were the graffiti ones, right? It was like the New York skyline, and it had like Phish graffitied and like neon writing. And I thought,
and the 31st was massive. It was like 6 inches by 2.5 inches. Like it was just this gigantic, like, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory golden ticket.
Yeah, they really designed those beautifully. All right, good tangent. Let's talk about the stash.
The stash, yeah. I wrote, it was just instantly out of the lyrics into a great jam.
Yeah. And Trey had like one of those really memorable licks, whatever you want to call it.
And repeats itself.
I couldn't sing it to you because I'm not a good singer, but I remember it was like a little bit of the ways into the jam. And I was like, oh yeah, that's one of those licks that's going to be stuck in my head for a while. And it's always cool to see him do that. You always think, how did you just come up with that on the spot? And then I also had that, I really love Kung. I'm sure that it's like a little interlude that it probably bothers a lot of people, or they think it's too silly. I actually think it's brilliant because I actually think it's aesthetically really interesting musically. Yeah. And it's also super funny. And if it's done right in this particular occasion, it can be incredibly psychedelic. There are some versions of Kung that I don't think work all that well. There are some that I think work great. And I think this was one of them where I was like, oh, this is really clicking. It's fitting really nicely. I love the balance of everybody's voices. Like, I feel there's like a haunting quality to it. So yeah, it really worked for me. And then cool to kind of go back into the stash for a second.
Yeah, and the peak was big after. Sure. I thought it was one of those 0 to 60 kind of like really immense, really tight, nicely hit peaks, which, and as far as this is where arrows work. Right. This is where segues actually matter. And the way this flows from one to the other was perfect.
Yeah.
And,
I agree.
I've always wanted to steal a golf cart, and every time I hear this again, it makes me. Yeah, I remember being in high school and having heard Kong a couple times, and thought I used to drive by this place that had a lot of locked up golf carts, and I always thought I want to steal a golf cart purely because
Yeah.
of this song. So I hope it's inspired that. If we had an email and like, fan base of this podcast, I would say send us your stealing golf cart stories, because I'm really interested in reading them and talking about them. But maybe someday.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was I think also the stand up at the end really screams at people that aren't having a good time.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, come on. Like, we're actually supposed to be having fun here. You should be
Yeah.
engaged in this, not just sitting down and chit-chatting.
We can stage a runaway golf cart marathon. Stand up! Stand up! Stand up on your heels and come!
Yeah. Yeah, as an embarrassing A side, when I was in college, when I was in art school for my environmental design class, and I don't know why I did this, but I had all of us kind of record our own version of Kung, and I changed the lyrics a little bit, and I brought it in, and I had done like a visual painting for this particular assignment, and then I played this music on top of it, and the professor was Japanese and not super familiar with avant-garde American music, and he was really blown away, and he pulled me aside at the end of the class. He's like, I've never heard music like this before. And I was like, well, admittedly I copied it from a band I like. He's like, either way, very interesting stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think that there's something to it. And I do want to say, as long as we're talking about the stash, I went on a little stash run, and I listened to a bunch of stashes from 93, from spring and summer. And man, what a time for stash.
Yeah.
I think what I learned was there are no bad stashes from this era.
Absolute
Like,
go-to.
I would be hard pressed to pick a favorite, honestly. I mean, I think that this one definitely has that memorable lick, and it's got the Kung, so maybe it pushes it over in the edge. But there was a couple here from August. I think it was 815 and 815 and 825. And 825 seems like it's kind of like maybe a little under the radar.
Yeah.
But both totally mind blowing.
Yeah.
So if you're a stash fan, I think I before this didn't realize that maybe 93 is Stash's year. Maybe it's 94. We'll see when we get there next year.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose
I feel
it's a
like
song that's
that
solid throughout the
I'm in firm agreement. I think at this point, we get to jump to August 93 next.
Yeah.
And stay there for a while. But I feel like this is the beginning of them where they're give us a jam vehicle.
Right.
And Bowie and Stash are designed as jam vehicles. And this is a show where they're like, give us those because we are ready to start to push this envelope. We're confident, we're comfortable. We've been slamming all these tight songs. We're when our machine is really fueled up and juiced up and really doing well, we want these songs. And you can tell there's a real like youthful exuberance and attack to like they're really after it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And they are starting to give each other space and really play off each other. And I've always loved it, but this Stash I think really has a nice Trey and Page dynamic. And I thought Page kind of lagged a little through the beginning of the show. He was kind of a little lower in the mix, but the Stash really set it off for me. And when they start bouncing off each other, I think melodically it really takes off.
Yeah, I agree with you. Also a good show for Mike. I remember thinking like Mike's playing really well tonight.
Yeah, I agree.
I was just gonna say something and then I stalled out of my brain. Yeah, so the Stash, Kung Stash, great.
Yep. And then Glide, which we both love.
Yes, indeed. Glide. And then my friend Reba Satin Doll is I would describe as an epic run. I mean, I just think like the juxtaposition of my friend, and then Reba, and then Satin Doll, and just the territory they cover.
Yeah.
In like 25 minutes. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I felt great about the whole end run. I think the second set ends a little bit weaker. So
Yes,
the
I
end of
agree.
this set was like, it's just such a tight little perfect set. And, My Friend is such a wonderful song. And, I'd never realized all the cacophony in the solo was just Trey laying his mic stand on his guitar until you see it live.
Yeah.
And I always remember it when I hear this song. And I thought there's 2 acoustic moments in this. This one and the later one. And I remember seeing one of them at one point. It must have been 94 when he was still doing it, or maybe it's just from a video where he plays the acoustic on a stand.
Oh.
And he has his electric slung around his back. So he's like, he wraps his arms around the acoustic and he plays it for a minute. And then he kind of slings the electric around and stagehands come and run the acoustic off.
Right.
And doing it twice in this show. It's great.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the acoustic guitar being blended in. And I think, I also got to see the mini acoustic sets in 96 twice, which was great as well. And it was just nice to hear it. I thought it was a nice way to start this run.
Right. I'm trying to think back now whether, like, when did he stop playing acoustic at the beginning of My Friend?
It must have been 94, 95,
Oh, really?
somewhere in that stretch.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But there were acoustic moments later. And it was a great My Friend. And I thought the Reba, again, like, the Reba as a jam vehicle works. And as we get further into 93, there's some really monster, really out there. We're going to talk about August 13th next time. The 12th, the first set of the 12th, the night before that, August 12th, is one of my favorite sets of all August 93 Phish.
Yeah.
And that Reba gets way out there, and it is
it
super avant-garde. This one is just tight, clean, shredding solo, nice build. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Once you get to August 93, it's hard to choose between shows, and I feel like it ends up just kind of being like, well, what's your songs? You're basically just choosing what the best show is based on what your favorite songs are, because everything is so brilliantly played and all the set lists are so great. But that takes us to the end of the first set. It ends it out with Cavern. Standard way to end, but like high energy.
I want more jazz solos. Satin Doll's so cheesy, and I love crew intros, like introducing the crew, but the Page and Trey jazz solos.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say Satin Doll's cheesy, but I mean, cheesy in a good way, like a beautiful
absolutely.
Gorgonzola, or
I imagine people, just arm in arm dancing in the audience.
Yeah,
it was
fun.
great.
Such a smile inducer.
Yes,
I feel like the only
lightening
people
the
that wouldn't like Satin Doll are the people that don't like Wolfpack, and you know what? Fuck those people. So.
I love when I put them on and people are like, "What is this shit?" We are not going to be friends. You and me? Nope, we're done now. We're done. We're all over. All right. So moving to set 2, it's the Bowie.
Yeah. So the Bowie intro has a. Oh, go ahead.
It's a Jessica tease.
Yeah, Jessica tease. Yeah.
I don't know why it's written in as a song.
No. Yeah.
And I'm sure if you look up covers, it's that they covered Jessica.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's just Paige starts teasing it, and then the band kind of jumps on it on and off a couple times, but it's barely a tease.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, unless somebody told, I probably would pick it out just from Paige, just the no, like, but but yeah, it's pretty abstract. It is not necessarily a straightforward Jessica tease. I think 9 out of 10 people are going to put this on and be like, Jessica, what?
Yeah,
But it is a
people.
cool little melodic
Yeah,
addition to the intro, and a great Bowie intro.
absolutely.
I have some notes here in terms of me breaking down the Bowie jam. But I'm just gonna reread it because I haven't read it since right after it happened to me. So
Good,
why
I'm
don't you
ready.
talk about the Bowie for a second?
Oh no. All I have to
Okay.
say, I love Dark Screaming.
Yes.
I love. I thought the Have Mercy. I have no comments about the slight island accent that Trey throws on his reggae. I mean, I get it. But
Yeah.
it's beautifully placed in this. I thought it really, the entire song encapsulates so many moods and feelings and diverse playing that literally a band could come out and just play this and leave, and you're like, that's the best band I've ever seen.
Yes.
Like it covers. I think Phish learned later in their career how to do this. Play a 18 to 25-minute jam that encapsulated so many styles of music, while improvising every single one of those moments.
Yeah.
But at this point, they kind of infused that with weaving in and out of songs, and I
Right.
don't know which one I like more, because I thought the Have Mercy was beautifully placed.
Yeah. I like both, and I like when they kind of do one style one night, and I think they've kind of embraced that. I mean, they're not as good as
Yeah.
it, but they have their Tweezer Fests and
Yeah.
3.0, and they do all that stuff. So
Yeah, and they're still fun.
Gayutica or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, hit me. I'm
Okay.
ready.
Okay. So at first the jam starts, and I'm eyes closed, obviously. I'm imagining sort of a like a box stamp, like a machinery was going boom. So it's like kind of like going with the rhythm. And then it kind of like I'm imagining like a production line of some sort. So we're in a factory. The band sounds like machinery. And then I wrote machinery jam. And the machinery jam transitions into a dancing machine. So basically what I was envisioning was these kind of like singular box stamping things, and then they're slowly morphing, and now these stamps are starting to dance. So like metal poles are going in the air, they're moving around. So all of a sudden now in the jam, I'm imagining that this machinery is starting to take life form. And then
The
all of a
intro to Pee Wee's Big Adventure without
Yes.
music, and then adding music.
Correct.
Yes, I get it.
Oh, thank you. What
I'm there.
a beautiful callback. And then to an All Fall Apart jam where they're all kind of like, they're kind of like deliberately kind of falling apart. Into the Destruction jam where it feels like the whole sort of factory is blowing up and everything is falling apart. And then we go into the sort of sailing through space, which picks up speed, and we're kind of sailing through space faster and faster. Then I kind of imagine, like in a Star Wars way, some guys in ships behind us, kind of like maybe chasing us, and then we have a little bit of a space chase. And then eventually Trey just starts playing so fast that we kind of like escape into sort of like a warp speed, and we just kind of slide right into the finale, and then the Bowie coda emerges.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to my brain when I was listening to it, and not a lot of songs do that to me. So kudos, Phish. Thanks for inspiring my imagination.
Yeah, they really. I thought it was a great ride. I really enjoyed how there's a couple moments, both the Coil jam that's coming later in this, where they just hit some really good, straightforward rock and roll riffs, and they really muscle through them. I like when they kind of like let it all hang out a little bit and get swaggery. And I think I've been in bands where I'm like, this song should just be a little more Rolling Stones.
Right.
People, the band can't quite get it. And like, it's not about how many notes you play or how, it's purely about swagger.
Yeah.
It's about where you are on the beat. It's about these tiny little subtle things, but really what it comes down to is how you feel as you're playing it. And I think a lot of times Phish can be really frenetic. And there were some moments both in this and the Coil Jam where the rock and roll was energetic, but it also had a little bit of swagger.
Yeah, I agree with you totally.
It was great.
Yeah, the Coil will be our next jam, but in between we have the Horse Silent, which is always a great cool down song. I'm sure people were probably pretty sweaty after that.
More
Bowie,
acoustic, which was a nice, quiet,
yes. Indeed, and pretty. So, and then that goes into It's Ice.
Which was good.
Yeah, it was a solid Ice, like nothing crazy, but yeah, very well played, and that's what you want out of it. It's Ice. And then into the Coil, again, we got a segue into Jam, and that's a legitimate segue into Jam.
Sure.
This was a pretty experimental Squirming Coil.
Yeah.
They were just starting to stretch it out at the time because Page had just got his baby grand.
Yeah.
And actually, when I threw this on, I kind of forgot that it got so rockin' and it got so out there. I was just kind of expecting kind of like a live one, pretty Page solo.
Oh, and
all of a sudden I was like, whoa, what?
Page's solo was fantastic. I really enjoyed this. And it was that moment where I was, I was working and I was listening. I like to close to music really loud at work, and I kind of stopped working for a while. I was like, this is just lean against the wall beauty for a minute.
Yes.
And then when the band kind of comes back in and joins in, it takes a minute, but then it's just rock and roll again.
Yeah, exactly.
It was great.
Yeah. Really like those couple of minutes where they're kind of trying to find their place. I really enjoy those moments in Phish when they're working stuff out, where I think some people might feel a little bit alienated to just be like, what's going on? And I'm like, yeah, that's what's interesting. What's going on?
Yeah, they're talking, they're throwing ideas out until one, it seems like really quick grabs at an idea for a few bars. And if everyone, sometimes it falls apart. Sometimes they use that as a springboard to the next thing. It's the fun.
Yeah. It's the birth of music. And I think that that's what I'm trying to rationalize why I go to so many Phish concerts, or why I love Phish so much, is I do think that there's something exciting about watching music being born. I guess it's like for most musicians or artists, it would be kind of like what happens in the studio as they tinker. But Phish has decided as a band that they're going to let us in on that procedure, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but just the experience of watching these four guys try and become the so-called hose, or try and become the conduit for everything to come through them from the universe, is pretty special to watch. And I think
at this point the work ethic was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
how
like
hard they were working at this thing.
I oftentimes think of comparing them to like Cirque du Soleil performers. Like I feel like that's how good they were at music at this time, was like those Cirque du Soleil performers where you're just like, how is that even humanly possible what you're doing? And I feel like I feel that way a lot of times in these like 93, 94, 95 shows. So
people like to make fun of Cirque du Soleil too, but if you haven't gone and you go, you're like, oh my God, that absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I like that analogy. I'll have to use that more.
And
Coil to skip the Big Ball Jam.
Right.
It was like that beautiful jam. All of a sudden you're like, what the fuck? Oh, Big Ball Jam. There you go.
Right, exactly.
That's why it suddenly sounds atonal and strange, which I'm sure if you were there, again, incredible.
Yeah.
They go from the Squirming Coil, this like piano playing, to this really gorgeous improv, to suddenly there's these giant balls, and when the balls hit the audience, band's playing off it. This is really crazy.
Yeah.
But as a listener, from our perspective, it's It's another skip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then to the closing, the Mike's Groove here.
Yeah.
Like you said before, like solid, good, but not anything to write home about. Not bad.
Yeah, I thought the
enough
Mike's was, they jumped
Yeah.
right into Crossroads.
And
But
I
that
like the
Crossroads
a lot.
was smoking.
Yeah, the
So
Crossroads
good.
was probably the highlight.
Mike and Paige had this moment like 4 minutes in or so that was just like it was great. The energy was big. They knew they were coming to the end of what was the longest tour of their careers and has turned out to be the longest. And you could feel it. It was happening. And the Crossroads was great. And the back to Mike, the segue back to Mike's was very strange.
Yeah.
This was where it got into some weird segues. The end of the show here where I thought, that they'd had so many great ones earlier. The Kung was great. The Have Mercy was great. This Mike's Groove is full of some pretty rough segues.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't love the Crossroad. Into Crossroads was perfect, but back to Mike's they forced it.
Yeah, I agree.
Not my favorite.
And then the Hydrogen was good. It was a well played Hydrogen.
Yeah, but then into the Weekapaw sloppy again.
Yeah, exactly.
The Hydrogen was fine, but the jump to Weekapaw was like kind of off kiltered and strange.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they recovered. Like I know everyone talks about the Amazing Grace jam, and I'm gonna scream it from the mountaintops that I think top handful of Phish shows I saw was the Arco Arena 11/30/96.
Yeah.
Where they also did an instrumental Amazing Grace jam. It was released as bonus on the 12/6/96 Aladdin Theater.
Right.
I think they call it Leftover Nuts.
Left Nuts.
It's released in some way. You can find it.
Yeah.
But that whole show is top to bottom mind blowing.
Yeah.
And that Amazing Grace jam at the end left most people in tears.
I'm sure.
And this one, just I don't know. Like they go into that weird reggae jam, and then finally the beat kind of syncs up. I don't know. The crowd's going, wild, and they seemed excited, but to me it was just a weird end. I don't know. Didn't love it.
This is what I have to say about that. Is that Amazing Grace in this context from 5/8/93, they're still playing it in a jokey way, kind of like the way that they're playing Have Mercy, where they're still the sort of silly band. And yeah, they do the barbershop quartet, and then it kind of like goes into the jam. But the barbershop quartet in and of itself is kind of silly. So I feel like it does have some pretty moments, but the one at the Arco Arena with the addition of the saxophone player Peter Apfelbaum, I believe was his name.
Yep. And John McEwen on lap steel.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the pedal steel, those instruments are so dramatic, and the way that they play them, there's a lot of space, like the way the saxophone kind of builds, and like there's such a lyrical quality to the way they're playing that the Amazing Grace has that gospel power. It has that emotional power in that show that just doesn't exist in this one. So I'm seeing them as like two different things. Like this is sort of like a jokey Phish cover, and the other one was like a serious sort of rendering with these other musicians. I just think they're very different. But yes, I totally agree with you. I don't think if I want to play somebody an Amazing Grace, I'm gonna go to the Arco Arena without question. So.
It may be the summer tour, they started playing Daniel Saw the Stone constantly.
Right.
And so maybe their idea of how to handle these religious standards, these big, powerful, emotional, God-fearing tunes like Amazing Grace. Right. They grew a level after this tour. I'd like to think that maybe they felt that this was a little bit lackluster. and that after this they decided to put some effort into it, considering Daniel Saw the Stone was like they played it constantly in summer '93.
Right.
But
I also love Daniel Saw the Stone.
Yeah, me too. I'm a big fan. But I liked it. And then, the AC/DC Bag Closer or encore was okay. But what I really liked was listening to the audience between when they finished Amazing Grace and then they came out with the AC/DC Bag, because they were fired up. Like that was a moment where you're kind of sitting back like, wow, this is a band that needs to have an encore. It was really exciting.
Yeah.
And I believe that they dedicate AC/DC Bag to someone, because it's a strange encore for this show.
Yeah.
But we've had so many fires lately that it's kind of nice to have this song be a closer. But it just fizzles out a little bit at the end. It doesn't have a big tight finish. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, not what you would expect from an AC/DC. Like if I'm imagining an AC/DC Bag encore, I'm imagining like a big blowout at the end.
But now I guess we can go into the filler, which we had talked about last time we spoke a little bit, where the official release had filler.
Right.
And if you are a Live Phish subscriber, which we both are, it doesn't have filler. But the actual official release, if you've gotten the CD or if you're on Spotify, has 4 songs as filler. And it gave us a little window into a lot of things surrounding the show, which I think called into question for both of us. Should this be the show? And I think we both landed on yes. This probably is the best end of '93 show. But they have the Shaggy Dog soundcheck, it's fine. It's fun to listen to. But then the You Enjoy Myself from Albany on the 5th. Right. And then the Tweezer Tila from the 6th, both of which were, the You Enjoy Myself's with Colonel Bruce Hampton and the Dude of Life. And it made me, I kind of had 2 thoughts. One was I really loved it. It was so out there. It's long. It's weird.
Yeah.
I love listening to it. It's super fun. But it made me think, I thought for a minute, is Phish worse with guests? But then I suddenly thought, we were just talking about how Peter Applebaum and John McEwen really made the Arco Arena show. And then I started to think about like the 7/9/97 Flecktones in Lyon.
Yeah. Yeah.
How that show was unbelievable. How the 7/25/92 with Santana, that Yem, where Santana sat in with them. There's moments with guests where could you be sitting in with a band better than this band? And I remember seeing guests with them where they're so gentle.
Yeah.
Their personalities come out. They seem to surround a guest and just lift them up. Like, come play with us. This is our world. Welcome. We're going to give you all the love and support. And when that guest has some skills and some chops and takes their ego out of it, it is beautiful. And I thought that Yam was one of them. It gets out there and weird, and there's so many melodic themes that get introduced and are just expanded on so rapidly. It's really different music than what they normally play.
Yeah, it is true. It's an interesting thing that you bring up, because I think that like when they do have guests, it is like a really special thing, and the way they treat guests is fantastic. And I do think that they create room and they create space, and they kind of like make these jams so that it revolves around the artist joining them. I think as like, it depends on what you're going to Phish for, like I feel like if you go to a Phish show and you get a big jam, you get your improvisation, and then you get that on top of it, then I think, wow, icing on the cake. But I feel like if I went to a show and I didn't get a big jam and I got some like cool interplay with another musician, it might not be enough to maybe tickle my Phish fancy.
I've seen some of those. It kind of brings down like, oh, you're going to bring out, Scott Murkowski to play this encore song, and you're like, just like, I was going to make a list of like the times when it didn't work, and then I listened to that Yem, and I was like, fuck that. I'm going to make a list of a few times where like it made these monumentous jams that I want to listen to over and over. Like that Flecktone sit-in, I can listen to that Lyon show like just every day for a week, and I'd be so happy. It's so
and the Ghost and the Poor Heart, all 3 of them are incredible with the gas. But to talk about a Yem, how about the Yem with Medeski, Martin, and Wood from '95? Like, to
also
me, that
really out there.
Yeah, that one
It's
I
great.
have a hard time connecting with.
Yeah, but it's one of those where I think they sat in. I don't know those guys,
Yeah.
but I know that I was with someone who had access to backstage, a partner for a stretch, and we saw a few shows and got some tickets to those shows. And one show we were backstage, and Billy Martin was a little short with me
Uh-huh.
when I met him, and I kind of learned later talking to people like, yeah, he's just kind of that way to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And here's this guy who I listened to him drum, and I'm like, it is so deep in my soul how good a drummer he is, how incredible he is. But it seemed like there was an ego there that I get it. You meet a lot of people
Yeah.
at shows, you just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You're busy, you're whatever. I just brushed it off. But I've heard
Right.
stories, and I think maybe that was an ego clash scenario. And
Yeah.
Colonel Bruce Hampton and the Aquarium Rescue Unit and the Doodle Life, from what I know of them as humans, R.I.P. Colonel Bruce, they seem like the kind of people who are willing to go down whatever rabbit hole.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and super sweet guys has always been
Yeah.
what's said about the Aquarium Rescue Unit. Speaking of rest in peace, Bruce Hampton, just like to add #best death ever. Yeah, amazing. You're an amazing man, Bruce Hampton.
Jealous.
If we could all go
Jealous.
like that.
Let's hope. I guess I got to start a band again and like get touring and be out on stage and have people know who I am. But I got time. I'm young. I'm ish.
You're
I got
still
time.
young. You're still
Youngish.
young.
That's what I like to tell myself. But the tweezer was absolutely A+.
Yeah,
To me, it felt later than 93.
it did. Yeah, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I know they put the Tila on there and it was fine,
Yeah.
but the tweezer was just melodic and interesting, and I listened to it twice. It was one
Yeah.
of those back to backs. I'm like, I got to do this again. I was very, very impressed.
Yeah, and just the energy. Yeah, that tweezer had a great energy to him. I mean, I know that people really love these funk tweezers that come later, and don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna like talk bad about funk tweezers, but yeah, I really love these kind of early tweezers. I mean, obviously 94 is gonna be my go-to year for tweezers. I don't know if a lot of people would agree with me, but I like those big monster tweezers. And
This one tips the hat to that, I think, a little bit.
yeah, it does. It's kind of like getting there, and
Yeah.
it has these like multi-compartmental sections, and yeah, but it still has that kind of cool early sort of energy, sort of like a raw singular piece where it does change and it has sections, but it doesn't get like so type 2 that you don't know where you are anymore. And if I remember correctly, it has a really incredible like all fall apart breakdown section at the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was
and
great.
I love that. I mean, that's like something that I really wish they could still do or still did.
Yeah, I
know
know
they do it in some other songs, but they don't do it in Tweezer anymore. So
like a bring back where they brought back the second jam in Mike's.
yeah, exactly.
Like bring back that breakdown in Tweezer. That'd be fun.
They really have to listen to each other if they really. That's like the funny thing about it, is I think people like will like listen to that and be like, it sounds like they're off. It doesn't sound right, and then you're thinking like, do you have any idea how hard it is to play purposely off, perfectly off,
like falling
so
downstairs on purpose.
All right. Well, do we have anything else to say?
I don't think so. I hope you enjoyed the new release this week that we texted about a bit.
I did very much. Yeah, the Revo is incredible. Wow.
Yeah, there were some really high moments. I thought there was, the big, like this show, the big jams really hit.
Yeah.
Was it 6/19/95? Does that sound right? I don't remember the date.
Yeah, something like
First
that.
Deer Creek show.
Yeah.
And I saw both of my second and third Phish shows were at Great Woods, like 10 days after this.
Right.
And I remember every single moment of those two. My first show the year before was in 94 was at Great Woods as well. Was good. It just was, it's such an overwhelming thing, your first show.
Yeah.
And I remember reading all the reviews of the 95 Deer Creek show that just came out. Almost everyone starts with, this was my first show. Because it was that band, they were getting bigger. 95 was a real moment.
Yeah.
And this was right around the only and the last and only time I saw the Grateful Dead at Highgate, Vermont, right before I graduated high school. I know these Phish shows were right around that, the Great Wood shows, and I was just floored. I want to say 6:37 was Great Woods, but 95 really brought me back.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people shit on 95, 96 Phish. I think some of the best shows I saw were in that stretch. It's a band growing, and a band that still clings to these 93 kind of feels. I was talking about the Arco Arena. The set list reads like a 93 show.
Right.
But it was that kind of energy mixed with 96, which was pre-97, but they were already getting funk jams. They were already getting, like, that show really encapsulates a band in between these two eras that I love.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the reason why I love 96 so much, is because it is a transitional year, and you get, and even more so, I would say, the European tour in 97.
Yeah.
And then the first half of the summer tour is still kind of like they've got a foot in both worlds.
Yeah.
And
that's
think
when it's the best.
That's when it's the best. I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think 95 shades at that. And I think there's some moments in this release. So I just keep giving them to me. Live Phish.
Yeah.
Dish them out. I love them all. I know we bitch, and sometimes I'm like, why are they not doing this, not that? But I love good, clean copies of everything. At very least, it makes me go back and really listen to it with a fine-tooth comb. And
I love the 95 releases too, because the 95, there's so much depth in 95, or just when you're listening to an audience, I really feel like I can't figure out what's happening. There are like some other years where I feel like I'm not missing as much.
Yeah.
But for some reason in 95, I feel like there's a lot going on, and a lot gets lost when it isn't a soundboard. So I really appreciate that. Especially like this Bowie, like I think you mentioned to me that they probably pushed it. They were attempting to push, and like maybe got a little lost on the way and then found their way back. But I think to like hear those moments on soundboard where like when it does go totally dead, like when it goes silent and there's like a moment, a half second, a partial second where they're kind of like, it just kind of stalls out. Those moments can be really powerful if it is truly silent. Like when the audience is just screaming in those moments, they're kind of lost. So I think that it's kind of cool to hear that.
And their reaction time, ideally you want the ether that is the bigger music to grab you and pull you along on this journey. And when you're searching for that, if you try and grab it and fail, you're kind of left free falling a little bit. And you're forcing an issue. And I think there are moments in that show, but they do it's so professional how they handle them. For me, I'm just going to I'm going to be terrified. I'm going to look up in cold sweats at people staring at me like, what the fuck are you doing? But they handle it. It's really the maturity shines through.
I used to say this ignorantly about Jerry and Trey when I first started listening to the Grateful Dead and Phish, when I was still kind of figuring out what was happening in the music. And I would always say like, they'll like make a mistake or a sour note, but then they like the next two bars, they'll do this crazy run, like a comeback to like make up for the mistake note. And I think the more I listened to them, I realized that's not actually what was happening, but it did kind of correlate that way.
It feels that way.
Yeah, it feels that way because maybe they were thinking about what they were going to play next, and then they flubbed, and then they played. Like, who knows what the reason it is. But I do feel like it stands true that if there's ever a moment, you just wait a second. It's gonna change in just a second. So
I feel that way about their tension release a lot too, where like I've seen so many shows where like they're building up a big peak at the end of a song and they kind of flub it a little. And as a whole band, you can tell they're like, all right, let's drop this down a couple notches. Let's get this thing churning up again. And let's build this up to the proper peak that we missed last time.
Right.
And
exactly.
they give it to you. They don't, they're not going to just say, we missed that. Let's get out of here. Yeah. They're like we missed that. We're going to take this down a notch. We're going to connect again. We're going to get together. And we're going to bring this back up and really give you the final, the release you deserve. I'm not getting into sexual terms. I'm just saying, like, they're very good at it as a band. Yeah. And seeing that live, when you see them, like, you're there and you're fully in it, and they kind of miss at that big tension release peak,
Yeah.
And then they're like, no. We're going to drop us down for a minute. And we're going to bring, I think the Bowie on a live one, or I'm sorry, the Harry Hood on a live one is a great example where it peaks nicely, but it doesn't quite hit where they want it to. So they drop it all the way back down and then build it up to the perfect final peak.
Right.
And they're showing off like, yes, we might not have nailed that, but we are going to nail it. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great to see.
That's cool. Let's just I just want to bring up one last thing since we're talking about this. What about the Down with Disease from 11/30/94? So that thing has like 5 peaks at the end of it, and it's only like 9 minutes long. But that doesn't seem like they screwed up a peak, and then it almost just kind of seems like Trey
it feels too good and they want to stay there.
Peaks, like I'm not sure what that's about. But it is
I
fucking
think
hilarious.
This goes to it's 90, like that's almost 95. Like that run, maybe fall 94 through spring 97 is a really unique time for the band. And we're not there yet, but we're going to get there. But I think there's a whole new level of, well, we're up here in this rarefied air of bands that are doing what we're doing, and we've worked so hard. What's next?
Right.
How do we approach these things in different ways? And I think they're so comfortable taking risks on stage.
Yeah.
So that seems to me like one of those where they're like, I'm having such a good time. We're just going to keep doing this over and over and over. And what's going to happen?
Right.
Like, is the roof literally going to come off the venue? I don't think so, but
it
maybe.
Feels like it sometimes.
Like, can we break down molecules to the point where this actually, our physical space doesn't exist anymore? And I think they think on that level. And,
I hope so.
It's aggressive, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, that's a great ending.
Next episode, 8. We get to enter into August 93.
Yes.
Which the week, we have 3 shows in a row that are going to be the week that some consider the best week the band's ever played.
Right.
So I'm excited to get there. I got some hot takes. I got some feelings. I think there's a lot of great music we're going to listen to, and I'm really excited about it.
I'd like to task you with something for next time as the musician.
I'm ready.
A lot of people mentioned in our beloved Phish Companion Volume 3 that spring 93 is when Phish started basically using their practice room antics at the show. And they started incorporating all the kind of things that they had been doing into these jams. And maybe you could talk us through some of that next episode. Okay,
sure,
cool.
I'm on it.
Well, all right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that episode and y'all doing well out there.
Yeah,
Sam?
Be safe, and
night.
Hopefully we keep slowly opening things up and getting normal and booking plane tickets to see each other at some point.
Vaxton City.
I feel like I'm kicking these plane tickets down the road. I kicked them down the road for a year. I'm gonna keep kicking them down the road, and then at some point,
we're gonna get there. I'm still waiting for my my stepmom to agree to see me and the grandkids. Yeah. She's close.
We just rented a motorhome to go to North Carolina, so I can't wait.
That's gonna be great. Yes. All right, buddy.
I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello there, friends, and thank you for listening. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or would like to reach out to Ian and I about anything at all, you can find us at companiontothecompanion@gmail.com.